dating, interviewing. You know that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
Chris Oliver, what's happening?
Andrew Mason, what is going on?
Dude, so much. Do you want to go? I know you got Stripe stuff. Do you want to do that again? Or I got all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, the Stripe stuff's went pretty well. I've cut 5 new releases of pay, I think. But it did go smoothish. I feel like the code and stuff is a lot more straightforward, except for, there's still some weird things where I'm not decided yet if I want to take the balance transaction, because the Stripe charges will be in pesos or whatever. And I have the balance transaction for the USD amount, but I can't query and sum a total of the money in USD because that's in a JSON object or whatever. So trying to figure out what I want to do with that. I guess I could query with a JSON column query thing, but all the stuff we talked about last week has been surprisingly decent now that I'm through the hard stuff. And the hard stuff was really Hatchbox is still in transition. So to go from the usage records to the billing meters, you have to introduce a new price, and then you have to go through and continue reporting usage records and billing meters at the same time. You can't actually upgrade to the latest pay to do that because you have to still use usage records, which they've removed from the Stripe gem. So I am currently a little bit behind because of that. Then you have to schedule all of the subscriptions because I went to test one in Stripe's UI. If you go from usage records to billing meters, it will clear out all of the usage and you will lose it all. I was kind of surprised by that. And maybe the trick to that would be invoice them today, immediately, no matter when they are during their billing period, and then swap them over right afterwards, which would cause an additional invoice or something. So their migration guide is just migrate them at the end of their billing period, which for us is fine because it's 30 days. But if you had people on an annual metered usage thing, then it would be well, now we wait for a year and we can't upgrade to the latest API version, which seems a little overlooked in their migration guide. So we swap stuff over and one by one, all of our subscribers are going to be swapped over. I also took the liberty to change the billing meters to use an hourly price instead of per second. We had to double check and make sure we do the rounding safely so we don't under or overbill. But I think that'll be fine as long as the reporting schedule we have is more than the actual hourly pricing, then that's fine. So you just want to be careful not to report usage 4 times an hour and have it round down 4 times. And then if it's calculating between the most recent thing, then it's well, you'll always end up with zeros. And then customers get your product for free forever that way.
Free money glitch.
Exactly.
It's the Chase ATM all over again, dude.
I told somebody at Stripe, I was there are enough of these products that are metered billing by time and not credits or whatever, which makes sense for a lot of meter billing type things too. But I was why can't Stripe just have an API for that where it's here's my units for this customer. They have paid for X servers and this is the start date. This is the end date for each server. And then they can do the calculations for me. They've got all of the stuff to do that really easily on their end because it would just be a start and an end date and that's it. So we'll see if they ever implement something like that. But that would be amazing because then I wouldn't have to do anything on my end, running a cron job and making sure that doesn't run too often or too little or whatever. Maybe one day, if anybody's listening that works there, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, so. Just add this product.
Yeah.
Run it up the
just for me,
pole.
Please. I've been very happy with that. I started recording some testing videos for the Learn Hotwire course because there are some weird nuances to it. And of course, like the majority of things, unfortunately, are system testy based. It's all JavaScript. You can't avoid it. I'd like to emphasize the controller tests and responding with the specific turbo streams and whatever. But the goal for a lot of it is like, yeah, you just have a refresh stream or whatever, and then assume that has morphing or whatever. And it's like, as you've seen DHH and other people talk about, like system tests are so finicky. And you've complained about this in the past.
While you were talking about this, I was like, the most annoying part about testing turbo to me is that I have to remember to do format turbo stream when I do the request. And I am not writing system tests. So skipping that video.
There's a few helpful things for controllers if you want to do those types of tests. There's like an assert turbo stream helper and whatever. So I'm going to get into all that. And then Hotwire Native 1.2 came out, which simplifies the Hotwire Native stuff a bit. So William's like redoing a handful of videos, and I think able to get rid of a couple videos completely because that stuff is now baked in, which is awesome. Yeah, been busy. I feel like it's been a blur. There was other things I was working on. Yeah, one of the videos I did was like, it comes out Monday, I guess the Monday before this episode comes out. But somebody asked about extending one of my gems, and I was like, you know what? Why have I never added the active support load hooks to all of the models in these gems? So I went through like all of them that have models and was like, drop, drop, drop. And so now all of them are easy to extend. And if you want to add your own helper method to pay Stripe customer, boom, easy peasy now. You just hook into that and you're good to go. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's sick. I didn't realize it would be that easy. I was like, I thought you were about to tell me your story about like creating like a plugin framework for all your gems or something.
No, it's literally a one-liner. It is exactly the one-liner that you see for active storage blobs or attachments. Like at the end of the class, before the end of the file, just a load hook saying run load hooks for active storage attachment. It gives you the class. So if you hook into that same symbol for on load with active support, then it'll just run the block of code inside of that class and you have access to all of that, which is sick. So it's pretty awesome. I'm happy with that. Like I love adding such a simple thing and then giving people like so much ability to customize stuff. I love those things.
Yeah, that's always nice. Nice little DX.
When your app breaks in production, you want to quickly understand and fix it, not sift through the logs for the next hour. That's where Honeybadger comes in. Honeybadger notifies you of errors, outages, and performance issues as they occur and helps you respond instantly when your systems go down. When you need to dig deeper, Honeybadger's advanced query engine helps you reach into your logs and grab just the information you need. With error tracking, performance and uptime monitoring, log management, and support for over 10 languages, Honeybadger is the best tool to gain real-time insights into your application's health and performance. Best of all, it's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. Be sure to bookmark honeybadger.io. That's www.honeybadger.io. So what is new with you this week?
Dude, I'm overwhelmed, bro. I'm overstimulated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm trying to launch a feature at Podia, and my project partner, who I now have codependency issues with because I need him, is out for a few days for vacation, and I'm launching it without him. And it's been a productive week, just like banging out like the small remaining tickets. Like we were pretty much feature complete at the beginning of the week, but I got distracted today by Drew Bragg with a really interesting issue that he messaged me, and he's like, the test suite is hanging on my computer. And so my first obvious question was, why are you running the whole test suite on your computer, bro? Because it's a big boy.
But that's what Basecamp wants us to do now.
Yeah, and here's why that's a bad idea. So he says to me, the test suite hangs at different locations at different points, but it always hangs and it just stops. And we had this like piece of code that we had taken from somewhere where in our Rails helper, if we pass a USR1 signal, like with kill to the process ID, so we print out the process ID of the test, and then you can kill that process ID and it will output the stack trace of where it failed. And I didn't know we could do that, but that wasn't work. Like he was running the kill command. The test suite was still hanging, still running, but still stuck. He didn't want to just kill the whole thing because he's like, I'm so deep into this and it always fails at some point. And he's like, when I restart my computer, I can't remember if he said when he restarted his computer, it would run, but he said there were differences when he restarted his computer. So I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
so there was like a few options, right? And I was like, well, can the process receive that signal, right?
If you go to the Apple store, buy a new computer,
that's what I was
work on there.
Dude, I'm starting to think that is the thing. But I was like, is the process still like trapping the signal? And the answer was yes. So that wasn't the issue. So I was like, all right, is it an issue with like some of the resource not being available on your computer, like the file address space or the core file size or the data segment size or whatever? And it did not appear to be that either. And so I was like, all right, so where is it hung? Like, we got to figure out where is it hung right now. So we go into Postgres and we find an open idle connection.
Okay.
So Postgres connection has an open stuck connection.
Yeah.
So kill that, but nothing changes. So we use this tool called LLDB, which I learned about, which you install via brew installed GDB. But GDB didn't work for some reason, but LLDB did. And what it does is it allows you to like get like a stack trace of the threads, basically. So like I'm at the point now where I'm almost forgetting like everything we did, but we go through all the threads on his computer and we find the one that stopped. So it's just filled with like the Ruby virtual machine calls, basically. RB call, send internal, VM call, cfunc with frame.
Right.
But it's repeating those over and over again. So it's like stuck. It's stuck in a Ruby operation. It's not stuck in a C. It's stuck in a Ruby, in a block or a loop or something.
Okay.
But no idea why, right? Because these tests pass on CI.
Of course.
And so I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something with the database connection pools. Because he got it stuck again. We canceled the test. He got it stuck again. Again, there's a stuck Postgres connection. And again, like using the kill with the USR1 flag does not stop anything. And who knows, dude? I'm still not sure.
Did you figure it out?
No, we didn't figure it out. But there was like the swapped out or unallocated memory, I think was very, very high. But I'm pretty sure because they got stuck in a loop.
Yeah.
But
which
where
makes
is the
sense.
loop?
So that's one where it's like, what if, roll back a few versions, run the test suite, see if it still has the same thing to pinpoint what code would have been changed that caused that?
Number one, if I run the test suite, I'm not sure, like I haven't tried it on mine, but I know for a fact this is not persistent across everybody's computer.
Yeah, which is strange. And then it makes you wonder, like, okay, what version of Postgres is he running?
He's running the version we're all running because we all use Muse or ASDF.
Okay,
I think, at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is an M1, I think. Yeah, so I'm very confused about that. So there's no solution. This is not a happy story. There's no good happy feeling you get at the end of the story. Like, I'm still not sure. Like, we're still trying things. And like, yeah, I don't know, dude. I've tried. Yeah. I tried to get it to like output the backtrace regardless. Like, I tried messing with the thread code in our Rails helper that does the trapping, but I don't know, dude. I just don't know.
I haven't dealt with any of that for a while.
And it's not Spring before anyone says that, because Spring's not running. And I don't even know if we have Spring anymore.
Yeah.
But that was my first thing. I was like, is Spring running?
Spring. Oh man. I'm glad that's not a thing anymore. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Those are fascinating things to debug because they're like, really, you cannot use any of your skills in Ruby at all. And it's like what you see when you see like Vernier that Mr. Hawthorne released at, was it RubyConf or RailsConf? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but I think so.
But it's stuff like that where you like, or you see Jean Boussier go through like the JSON gem and talk about fixing things and performance and whatever on that. And you're like, so really you happen to know Ruby, but you're actually doing most of your work in like C or whatever. And I always am fascinated by that because I feel at this point I am so into Ruby, but not like able to debug the internals of Ruby, at least not well, not efficiently like I can with Ruby. And that's like fascinating because you feel all of a sudden a fish out of water because you're like, I should know how to do this. This is my job. We never have to get down this far. Like the abstractions really have protected you from so much. And then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. When I realize that I'm like deep in the Ruby virtual machine and I'm like, okay, I can't read C. And even if I could, like all I see is it calling invoke block from CBH RB yield VMXQ core over and over and over again. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't
which
know what
means
to do
that
about
like
that.
it's executing some block that's infinitely, it's maybe named or something that like it calls something that is named the same on accident. And you didn't realize you caused an infinite loop or whatever, but it's like, nah, I don't have the ability to throw binding IRB in there.
Right.
What do I do?
Right. And it was at the end of it, I was like, I don't feel like I'm any closer to telling you what the problem is, but I feel like we know what it's not.
Yeah.
What happens when a developer decides to record his own podcast ad? Let's find out. I'm Adam from JudoScale, and at JudoScale, there's no marketing team, no salespeople, and no customer support. I mean, we do have customer support, but it's just us, the developers. That's why our support is top-notch. Anyway, we're JudoScale. We're the autoscaler that actually works. We do it better than anyone else by tracking the right metrics and checking those metrics more frequently. And we wrap it all in a beautiful UI with powerful and intuitive controls. We work with hosting platforms like Heroku, Render, and Amazon ECS to gracefully handle your traffic spikes and backed up job queues. If you want that peace of mind and a much lower hosting bill, you should check us out. Visit judoscale.com/remote Ruby for your special gift as a remote Ruby listener. That's judoscale.com/remote Ruby.
You reminded me a couple years ago, I did a video which you could use to like watch system calls and stuff internally. I don't remember most of that. There was something I was debugging that ended up using strace and like same thing with diving into, what was it? I forget the name of it now.
J?
LLDB? GDB?
Oh, yeah. GDB and LLDB.
Yeah. Those are tools that I've used in the past, but it's been long enough ago that I don't remember at all. And I know you can do some cool stuff with it. Impressive debugging that you can do. Or things where like you've probably seen Tenderlove. He's done some fascinating stuff where like he's running Ruby and then actually needs to look into the internals of Ruby to debug something at GitHub or Shopify scale. Like that's an awesome skill set to have. One of you guys will be the king on the team that knows how to do that at some point. Once you get this figured out, it just might be 6 months.
He messaged me. He's like, I feel like you're the terminal guy. I have a terminal question. I was like, oh no. Not shell. I learned a lot, but didn't learn what the issue was.
It's still not fixed. Yeah.
No, it's still not fixed. And
that's tough because like if he's got that exact code base, I can't imagine switching to like Ruby 3.4.2 or a minor version or whatever.
We're on 3.4.2.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but like testing
3.4.3 just came out, right?
Yeah. I'd be curious and I would want to try that and it's like try running it on 3.4.3. And maybe there's something with 3.4.2 or whatever. Maybe there's something strange going on with one of those things. I don't know. It's such an interesting thing. And when you just have that giant infinite stack trace or whatever, it's like if you're not able to throw a debug line in there and poke around at the actual values in the memory, what do you do? How do you debug it? It's tough.
I think what I finally left him with was this. I was like, look, is the issue that you're running the entire test suite? Is the issue like the volume, or is it an issue with specific tests? Because it fails in different places and it fails after different amounts of time. Or it hangs.
I would also run with the same seed and see if it's
he is.
reproducible with the same seed. It's not consistent.
It does
with the same seed.
no, it does not consistently fail with the same seed.
Yeah.
I was like, don't take up all her CI time, but I would be curious because we use parallelization on CI. I was like, I would be curious to know what would happen if you just ran the entire suite without splitting it and see, does it fail there too?
Right.
Because if it doesn't, then we know
because
for a
also
fact it's something with your computer.
Also, like, disable half the test suite and run it.
That's what I was like. How many tests does it usually hang after? Like, take that amount and run that as a separate, so the whole thing.
Because if you're able to pinpoint which test, there was something. What was I working on recently? There was something where a test would fail, but it was like the ordering of the tests, and it could be that where it's like it hangs at this one test, but it only hangs at that test because this other test ran first or something.
Right. Yeah.
If you're able to pinpoint that at all, that would be fascinating. Or even being able to look at that massive stack trace and see, like, it's running this test. What test is that? Because that is at least useful information rather than like some internal Ruby VM line saying it's running this block. What block is it? Where's the block from? That's the thing that if you can find any way of finding an answer to that, then at least you have some direction to go. Because without it, I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't have any clue on it's just one of those, you just need one hint to start looking in the right direction or whatever. And right now it's like, well, the house has been ransacked and we still don't have any ideas.
Right. And it's one of those things where the feedback loop is so slow that you're like, well, I need to try like several things at the same time. And then it's like, what if one of them works? I'm not sure.
And which one was it? Yeah.
It's an interesting little problem.
It is. They're good challenges, but they're not productive challenges, I will say. You'll find the solution to this, but not necessarily will this situation ever come up again or in a reasonable time frame where you remember what happened and why. It's one of those things like that strace video that I did on GoRails. I was debugging something that ended up using that. And then now I have no idea what it was. I don't remember strace, how to use it, that type of stuff. And so it's like, well, it wasn't hugely useful at the end of the day, but yeah, maybe in the future, one day I'll come back to it and be like, oh, yes, I needed this. Thank you for making the screencast.
Yeah. I got 2 ideas from this conversation. So that's all I needed, really. Like, you gave me 2 more, like maybe try a different Ruby version and also
try a brand new laptop.
Try a brand new laptop. I'm not sure if he was running, like, if it was unit and system tests. I think it was. So I wonder if you just run the unit test.
Just one or the other, and
then we might find
replicate. Even then, break down the unit test and see if do I run half the suite or whatever. Maybe you can pinpoint that down. It's one of those things where like certainly can be something with system tests or whatever. Those are fascinating. Like I have an issue with the Ferrum PDF gem that's like, if you try to render a page that also needs to download some more CSS or whatever from the Rails asset pipeline, like there's some sort of deadlock happening or whatever. I'm not sure. And it's like, I don't even know where to begin with that. And it's probably something that if you're familiar with the Rails loading and whatever is going on with that, then yes, you could probably figure it out. But like most of the time, we don't have to touch it because we've got Xavier working on site work. And we got Nate Berkopec on Puma, and we just think single threaded most of the time. So yeah, I don't know. That'll be one that I'm going to get back to soon and try and figure out what's going on with it. But similar kind of thing where you're like, I don't even know where to begin here.
Yeah. And the worst part about it is like, I was happy to help him. I know he's going to listen to this. I was happy to help, but that's taking up his time and my time that we both need to be using for our feature work, right? Or for other things. And on that note, I need to get back to launching this feature. So I think we're going to roll it to the station unless you have anything you want to get on real quick.
No, that's good with me. I got stuff to do and
it's a busy week.
I'll leave a cliffhanger. I do have something to talk about that. Remember when I used to work for 1 month back in the day in the early days of GoRails,
Yep.
I acquired all of their assets. They shut down in December, and now I own the business I used to work for, or at least their assets, not the actual business.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah. So that'll be something fun to talk about. We literally just transferred things over to me. So I now have a Heroku app.
Well, congratulations.
2 Heroku apps. Yeah.
Congratulations for that.
That's wild. I don't even know what to do with them.
Migrate them to Hatchbox and make a video about it.
Yeah, probably. Because I'm like, you're paying $50 a month for this database that's like tiny. Like, come on. So I will probably move things around and whatever. But yeah, that'll be fun to talk about because I'm going to probably relaunch 1 Month Rails, which was their original intro to Rails course that they raised funding and everything through Y Combinator. So we will have lots to talk about that in the future. So I'm excited for that. So, all right. We'll catch you next week, man.
On the flip side.